Yeah, my name is Gary Zaldy Galvez. I grew up in the US, but I was born in the Philippines.
Okay.
I was born without parents. Well, I had parents, but I never grew up with them.
Sure.
So all along, I thought that if I do good in school, my parents will come home. So at a very young age, I was top of the school, top of the school, top of the school. But my parents never came home. So I had this belief that if I do well in school, my parents would love me. My mom has 14 kids, and I'm the youngest. So, and I'm an illegitimate child. My father has 4 wives, or had 4 wives, and there's 8 of us there. So I have about 21 siblings altogether. But I was never close with them because I grew up with my grandma. And at the age of 7, I was petitioned to the US.
Age of 7.
Yeah, at the age of 7.
Who petitioned you?
My dad.
Oh, your dad?
Yeah.
So your dad in the US?
Yeah, he's a citizen.
Oh.
And I started going to school there when I was young. And I had my green card and I was bound for citizenship, naturalization. Because my mom, my dad, my sisters, they're all citizens there. I didn't go for it. And I'll explain that later on why. My life in the US is not what I really imagined. They say it's the greener pasture, but it wasn't that la la land for me. Because I didn't get along with my siblings, my stepsisters and brother, my half brothers and sisters there. And there was an incident that where my stepmother kind of gave me a whip, beat me up, yeah. And I ran away when I was 14. So from being an honor, I went to Cemetery High, I went to Abbott Middle School, and it was then that I ran away from home after getting beaten by my mom. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so, I was the president of the Filipino club, varsity wrestler. My grade point average was 3.83. Honor roll of the Reagan honor. Yeah, I was really bound for success. But that day changed my life. So, and when I ran away, I regretted it because I ran away without a shirt in that San Francisco. So it wasn't really a good idea. I was so impulsive. I ran away. I'm like, And then I remember seeing bums, like the bums. And I started doing the fire with them, the hobos, and they made me sleep in the cardboard for like 3 days. And then I met a guy, his name is Wayne, and he lived in...
So literally you're homeless now?
At that time, yeah. I was homeless. I was eating off garbage then, and I met this guy named Wayne. He says, "Hey, pare, you're Filipino." I'm like, "Oh, pare, yeah." And I thought he had a camper, right? So yeah, you can stay with me. So I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Lord," And I stayed with him in the camper, and one day, there were flashlights going like this. And he goes, "Bro, run, run." I'm like, "Why?" "Because the police." I'm like, "Why? This is not yours." "No, it's not mine." So we started running. I didn't know that it's not his camper, that he just broke into it. So I was adopted by a trespasser. So for 3 months, I was eating on the streets. I was homeless, and one day, the one I'm with got caught, and I got caught, and I went to juvenile hall. And then I was given a chance to come back again, juvenile hall. One day, my sister was crying after I just got out of juvenile hall, and I go, "What's up?" And she says, "David, they try to come in." David's like the Mexican neighbor. Because our apartment, when you park the van, you can step in the van and get in the window. We're on the 2nd floor. So, being the kuya that I am, I call my gang, "Hey bro, come down." So we went to the house of David, and I just, "What's up? You got a problem with my sister? Trying to rape my sister?"
So you had a gun?
Oh yeah, I was in a gang.
Oh.
I grew up in a gang. Yeah. And we protect our own. And with that, I went to prison and I went to jail for that. So my sisters, trying to protect my sisters, my dad disowned me. He never wanted to see me again. Don't want me to use his last name, that kind of thing. So what I did after I got out of juvenile hall, I went to Philippines.
How long did you stay there?
I was not deported. I chose to come to Philippines because I thought that I'd rather be with my mom. They're gonna put me in a foster home. If you can't live with your mom, you have to be in a foster care. And you go, I don't want to be in a foster care. I have a big family in the Philippines, so I went to Philippines.
Oh.
And when I went to Philippines, it was amazing because it was an easy life. I was going to school here part time, and I started rapping. Like rapping, like that rap. I was DJing in clubs. I was dancing on TV. I was like a celebrity, it was a good life. And then I got somebody pregnant. And I was so afraid, I got scared. I went back to the US, and I started working. And my first job was a door-to-door, selling door-to-door. I was selling pots and pans, calculators, books, door-to-door. It's the only job I can get, in the US. I was the kind of guy who would go to you in the parking lot, hey man, like that, And I got promoted at 16. I became a manager at 16. At 17, I became a national manager. And then I was making $100 a day, legally. And I bought a Jaguar at 17. So I came home, right? I go in my suit, I'm all spiffy. I got my suit, and I go, Dad, I was knocking on the door. That's why if you go to YouTube, you type my name, there is the 700 Club testimony there, where they try to reenact everything. So I knock on the door, I go, Dad, it's my birthday. And he goes, I don't care if it's your birthday. You can't come in here. I don't know you anymore. I go, Dad, I beg you, can we just let it go? Look, I made something of myself. I'm a manager now, I have a Jaguar now. And you know what he says? You can shove it up your butt, I'm like, what kind of father are you, And he says, if you really want me to accept you back, you go back to Philippines, you marry the woman you got pregnant, and then we'll talk. So I went home, I married the woman I got pregnant, which is my wife now still, and her name is Cynthia, and I married her, and I only stayed for a couple of weeks, and I got her pregnant again, so I went back again to the US.
Same woman.
Good job, yeah.
Both of you.
Same woman, yeah. And I continued on with my job. I got promoted internationally, and in 1992, I was sent to Philippines to start the location here. So I lived in Ayala, Alabang, very nice place, very posh. And I started a company. And then I got pirated by another company. And I became the youngest motivational speaker in the Philippines at the age of 18. Yeah, I was working with Maggie De La Riva, I was working with June Garing, I was working with Dr. Hocano. And we're training the top 300 companies in the Philippines at that age. And I was pirated at 20 by Primetown Property Group. I was a vice president for sales of this developer. We conceptualized the Condotel concept. So when we started that, I made about 30 million at 20, and I used it all up when I was 21. Good job, eh? Yeah. It was all the people I hung around with. I hung around the wrong people who gambled. I hung around guys who had many wives. I had friends who they didn't really teach me values of what a good husband should be. So I ended up breaking my family apart. At the age of 23, I was a director of the Yupanco Group. I made, again, 13 million and lost everything again. Maybe it's maturity. I couldn't handle success. I was so good at making money, but I was never good in keeping it, saving it, And I had the wrong people around me. That's the bottom line. I didn't believe in God. My God was money at the time. And I separated with my wife for how long already. And one day, I was giving a food pack to my driver in Manila, and the police just raided me, beat me up, and they thought I was the drug dealer that they're waiting for, the drug lord. So it was mistaken by identity. But when they saw my license was California, they started saying, hey, this is no Chinese guy. Yeah, do I look like Chinese, bro? Come on, man. And I was speaking in English, and he goes, English ka ba? I experienced a lot of torture, and instead the chief at that time says, kasuhan na yan. Kung hindi, kayo makakasuhan. So they detained me for like 2 to 3 days with no logging me in to create a story that they had a buy bust operation, whatever the case may be. But my lawyers came, the Yupanco lawyer came, my secretaries came, so We fought it in court. I spent millions for that case. So 3 times, 4 times, the cop never showed up. So I figured it was dismissed. I go back to the US, I go to China, I go to Hong Kong, I go to wherever. I travel. And I thought the case was dismissed. So it was in 2013 that it caught up with me, you know. But there's a story between 2013 and that very time. And this is the worst times of all. And see, that incident ruined my life. They posted it in the newspaper, everybody knew it. So I had a hard time looking for a job after that, you know. And an executive busted for drugs. So it really ruined me, devastated me. Whatever money I had left, I ended up using all the way through, separated with my wife.
Do you think set up or just?
Oh, it was set up. I was not
set up, right?
I was not into drugs at that time.
Maybe someone jealous of you or somebody. Do you think?
It was really just, they really just caught the wrong guy.
Joe was just wrong.
And they beat me up. And they had to make a case so that they can file it against me, or else they're gonna get in trouble. And at that time, I couldn't understand why all these things were happening, because I wasn't really a bad guy. I probably was in a bad crowd, but we're not the drug user crowd. We're the gambling crowd. We're the golfer, womanizing crowd. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like those who partied in drugs. No, it wasn't like that. But when my life was ruined here, that's when I met some ladies, you know. And I was separated with my wife, and you know how they take care of you when they know you're single and you're rich and all that. And I ended up getting her a condo and that kind of thing. And we started drugs, and that's when I started using drugs. And little by little, I didn't know that drugs was eating me apart. And then I got involved heavily into it, to the point that I was financing people. And then I ended up meeting other people, and then meeting bigger people, and then I went internationally. And I ended up joining a syndicate. Yeah. So we were doing a lot of things like guns, smuggling. We were human trafficking women to Singapore, Malaysia, and all that. Aside from that, I was supplying, you know. But all these things I never got caught for. And one day when I tried to say, you know, it's time to fix my life. So I started going to church. I thought I met God. I was a, you know, fake Christian, you know, the one who pretends he accepted Jesus, but I was still using drugs, that kind of thing. I just wanted people to think that I'm okay. I wanted people to trust me, but I was not real, you know. And then I got caught. They brought me to Bilibid in prison. And there's no more, nothing. I didn't know that it was the promulgation I missed. So during the promulgation I missed, they just automatically convicted me. And that was...
So you didn't go to jail, you directly go to prison?
Yeah, because it was 2000 that I was convicted.
He was on bail.
Oh.
And then I was a fugitive until 2013.
So you literally were a fugitive?
Yeah, I didn't know I was a fugitive. You know, because I was traveling pa rin, I was going anywhere. I didn't have a departure hold. And I knew that I thought I won the case. That's why I never went in single thought in my head. But when the warrant came about that case, they brought me to CID and waited for my commitment order, and I had a stroke.
In jail, inside
In
prison?
jail, CID. Because I couldn't accept it. Just when I was trying to fix my life, just when I stopped using drugs, just when I stopped womanizing, stopped gambling because I had no more money. You know, the solution to stop gambling, don't have money. So, you know, I stopped everything and I tried to find God, you know what I'm saying? So I started reading my Bible, and when I did that, that's the time that the police caught up to me. I'm like, why, Lord? Why, God? I started questioning the Lord. So anyway, to make the long story short, I was there, and then I heard that my dad was in town. I was turning 40 at this day. I ran away when I was 14. And I found out that my dad was in the Philippines. So I sent message, I sent word. I'm going to Muntinlupa for a crime I never committed. I have to serve almost 4 years there. Can you tell him to come visit me? And you know what he said? burn in hell and rot in jail. So I was sleeping. I couldn't believe it. I was so angry. And then they're trying to wake me up. And when they try to wake me up, I sounded like, and then they gave me a glass of water. I tried to reach for the water, and I couldn't move my left arm. I'm like, and then I got frantic. Nataranta ako. I was like, then I was actually having a stroke. So they brought me to the hospital. It was actually a mild stroke I had. And when I woke up, I was handcuffed to the bed. And then they gave me the intravenous, the IV. Okay, pick it up. Okay, come with me. Okay, go to the car. Okay, and they brought me to Muntinlupa. They brought me to the prison with the IV. Can you imagine that? And this was December 23, just before Christmas. Can you imagine? So when I got into prison, I didn't know what to do. I was crying my butt off, but I wasn't showing it. And they brought me to this quarantine place, the room. You gotta stay there for 2 weeks before integrating to the population. And I don't know if you tasted luhog. You know what luhog is?
No.
That's luha and uhog combined. You know when you cry and then your snot comes down, and then it's very sour and it's very salty. I was doing that, you know. I was in the bathroom taking a shower. I was so good in my life, you know. I'm not an average boy. I'm a very smart kid, very talented, multimillionaire, but here I am in prison. Why? Why? I started hating my parents more and more and more. And it was December 24th, one day after, and I saw from the bars on the 3rd floor, you can see a stage. And they go, they're like singing, praising God, right? I'm like, there must be drugs in Muntinlupa. Because everybody here is probably high or something. Because they got reclusion perpetua, they have death row, and they're singing to God. I don't get it. I didn't get it. And then after 2 weeks, I was brought down. I met a guy, and then he says, you know what? If you want a fresh start, you know, it's never too late to bring the Lord into your life. And I looked around and I saw so many people in the corner like this, boning like that. And I go, I don't want to be like those. What do you do? I'm in church, blah, blah, blah. Come with me. Did you know that if you commit yourself to Christ, you're a new creation, you can start over? I go, yeah, I want that. So I started going. I started singing. I started doing that. It's funny. I never thought that I'll be a pastor later on. So they had a school. They have a theological school, Kindness Bible School, inside prison. I went there. I studied there. You know, I was top because there's only 3 of us. I was in the top 3. You know, but I started ministering to 1, 2, 3 people, then 7, then 10, then 15, and then 7,000 a week. We were sharing the word of God to them inside prison. Yeah, yeah. And then if you go to the videos, you'll see it. You see pictures of it. No, it was in RDC. And then time came where I was transferred to the medium security compound. So when I was there, I became more of a pastor there. I started working with churches there and all that kind of thing. And one day, while I was preaching, someone said to me, hey, you have a visitor. And I go, who? Your wife. I go, don't joke me, man. I'll bring out the old me, you know. No, really, your wife is here. I look around, I'm like, it is my wife. Oh my goodness, I couldn't preach anymore. But she saw me preaching already, right? So I came to see her and she goes, hey, what's up? And she told me the story. You know, I was entering the door, right? The jail officer asked me who I'm seeing. I said, Gary Galvez. And they said, oh, pastor. And she goes, no, he's an impostor. She doesn't believe it because of how many promises I said, how many times I said I changed, you know, yeah, I changed. I go to Bible study now, like that, and I go back to drugs, I go back to the things, right? So she never believed me. But this time around, when she saw me preaching, she didn't know I was a pastor because I never told them because they never saw me. And you know what the first thing she did? She sat by my side, held my face, and she goes, "You're a pastor now." And I go, "Yeah." "Wow, you're so calm. I'm not all hyper anymore like this, you know." And she goes, "Which church are we gonna go to when you get out?" And I held her face, and I go, "Are you using drugs? Are you on drugs? You wanna accept me back after all the things I've done? I have 16 kids from 16 different women, and 5 with her at the time. And you wanna take me back after that kind? After ruining your life? We've been separated for almost 10 years, and you know what she told me? "We have been praying for you for the past 5 years for God to use you because we know that you can be used for the kingdom. And now that you are, no way I'm gonna let someone else benefit from this." But she just told me, "But don't rush the kids. They're not ready for you yet." So it took me a while, a year and a half before they started coming around. And then one day, someone just said, "Gary Galvez, you're out of here." And I was actually free, you know. I did not take the probation, that's the truth. I was informed that I can go an early release through the probation program. But I've spoken to a lot of people who did the probation. It's like you have no rights. If someone told you that they fought you, you're drinking, you go back prison without any excuses. And I only had like 1 year or 1.5 years left. So I said, I will deny the probation. I continued on full serve sentence. So I don't owe anyone anything. I've served my sentence for a crime I never committed. At that time, I didn't understand what it was. But just like in Joseph in the Bible, though they meant harm for me, God meant it for good. It was not my wife that changed me. It was not prison that changed me. It was actually understanding the Word of God that changed me. You know, and it gave me more hope. And I started working with people inside prison who are going to school, who are wanting change in their life, you know. But one thing is sure, support system is important. No matter how hard you try to reform yourself, no matter how you try to change the way you are, become a better person, if your family is not visiting you, if your family doesn't believe you, if the first people who condemn you is your family, it's hard. It's really hard. And that's the reason why when I got out, I made it a point that I always go back to prison every month and share. Because I've met so many people that were in there because they had no legal capabilities. They had no financial ability to defend themselves like me. For me, it was the hand of God, what happened in my life. But for them, it's so sad, you know.
So now what you're doing with
I put up, I'm a founder of this ministry that is called Bless the Inmates. So before Christmas and every mid-year, I organize blessing at least 1,000 inmates with gift packs, grocery packs worth 500 pesos. But I only ask that these recipients are those that are from Tawid Dagat or from provinces, because they don't get regular visitors. Because if you're from Manila, your family can visit you easily. But these people from Davao, you know, all those places that are across the sea, I ask for them, or elderlies. So I organize that, and I go to different prisons. You can see that on my page that I visit that every month. I have agreements with BGMP and Bucor that we do ministry work inside prison. All we do is encourage people that there's hope, and I'm a living testimony that, you know, you can change.
Do you give any advice?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
There are no stigma.
Right.
People think there's a stigma. Oh, you're an ex-convict. Oh, you're from prison. I never experienced that.
Right.
Did you know that when I got released, I testified in a big church, and after that, someone called me for a cup of coffee like this one, and lalo pala to. Yeah. And invited me for a cup of coffee, and then when they found out that I was a trainer, when they found out what I used to do before, they gave me a break. So it was this company called New Skin. I have a friend named Sandy, and he says, "Okay, can you train our people?" "Yeah, sure, but you need the visa." I'm like, "Really?" "Yeah, in UK." So I went to UK. I trained people there. I had people who invited me to go to Ireland, Dublin. So I am an ex-convict who traveled the world. I'm an ex-convict who had a good job. I am an ex-convict whose family has been restored. Yeah, I am an ex-convict. You know, so prisons are not prisons, and life can be corrected, your values can be corrected if you will let them. Hopeless inside, but there really is a way. You have to believe it. It's just like guys like you who go there and give hope, give a chance. You have a choice when you're in prison. Either you're going to reform or not. I can continue doing drugs inside prison, or I won't. I can go and just be aimless, hopeless, helpless, or I can go to a certain group who's, you know, so there's a choice. I chose to get fixed.